People assume that growing real food means having a yard, a patch of soil, space to dig, maybe a raised bed or two lined up under the open sky. But some of the freshest, most rewarding food I've ever grown came from inside the house. Lettuce ready in 3 weeks. Herbs so abundant I couldn't use them fast enough. Cherry tomatoes ripening on a shelf while snow was falling outside. And none of it required a backyard. None of it required a garden plot. Just a window, a few containers, and knowing the right setup. In this video, we're going to walk through the indoor gardening secrets that most people never discover because they assume it's too complicated, or the light isn't good enough, or the space is too small. By the end, you'll see exactly how much food a modest indoor space can actually produce. And one of these secrets, near the end, completely changed how I think about growing food year-round. Before we get into it, drop a comment and tell me, if you could grow one food indoors all year, what would it be? I'd love to know. Food prices aren't getting lower, growing seasons aren't getting longer for most of us. And more people than ever are living in apartments, condos, or homes with no outdoor growing space at all. Indoor gardening has quietly become one of the most practical things a person can do, and when it's set up correctly, it doesn't just work, it thrives. Let's start with secret number 1. Here's the most common reason indoor gardens fail before they ever really begin. The plant sits on a windowsill. It looks okay for a week or two. Then it starts leaning. Then it gets thin and leggy. The leaves lose their color. Growth slows to almost nothing. And the assumption is that indoor gardening just doesn't really work. But the problem isn't the plant. The problem is the light. A south-facing window sounds like enough, but most windows filter UV. Buildings and trees block angles, and during fall and winter, even a clear sky delivers a fraction of the intensity plants actually need. Herbs can tolerate low light and survive, but leafy greens, peppers, and tomatoes need more. The secret is learning how to supplement, not replace, natural light. A basic full-spectrum LED grow light gives your plants the consistent signal they need to grow strong and compact. Think about what that looks like. Dense, upright basil. Lettuce that grows wide and low instead of tall and thin. Set the timer once and you rarely have to think about it again. The light comes on, the plants grow. One mistake to avoid here, placing the light too far away. This is the single most common error. 12 to 18 inches for most leafy greens and herbs is the sweet spot. When the light distance is right, the difference is immediate and visible. Plants that were leaning begin to stand upright. That shift from struggling plants to thriving ones is when indoor gardening stops feeling like a hobby and starts feeling like something real. Container depth changes what you can grow. Most people pick containers based on what looks nice or what's available. But for food production, the depth of your container is one of the most important decisions you'll make. Shallow containers limit roots. Limited roots limit the plant. Lettuce and most leafy greens are forgiving. They have shallow root systems and do well in containers 6 inches deep or more. Herbs are similar. Basil, cilantro, parsley, none of them need a lot of depth to produce generously. But once you move into tomatoes, peppers, or anything that produces fruit, the rules change. A pepper plant in a 4-inch pot will survive. It won't thrive. The roots hit the wall of the container early, the plant stresses, growth stalls. And you end up with a plant that flowers but rarely sets fruit. The secret is matching container depth to crop type and being generous rather than conservative. For peppers indoors, go with at least a 5-gallon container. For tomatoes, especially compact or dwarf varieties, 8 to 10 gallons gives the root system room to develop properly. That depth translates directly into yield. There's something satisfying about watching a compact tomato plant in a deep container produce fruit in a space that once felt too small. Self-watering containers are worth knowing about here. They use a reservoir at the bottom that wicks moisture upward through the soil. This means the plant takes water as it needs it. For indoor growing especially, this solves one of the most common beginner problems. One mistake to avoid: containers without drainage. Roots sitting in standing water will rot. Drainage is non-negotiable. When containers are matched well to the crops growing in them, the plants settle in and begin to grow the way they're supposed to. steadily, consistently, without the stress that cuts productivity short. Outdoor garden soil is dense. It's designed to hold structure, anchor large root systems, and absorb rainfall. Bring it indoors in a container and it becomes heavy, compacted, and poorly draining, the exact opposite of what container-grown food needs. Many new indoor growers fill their containers with whatever bagged garden soil is on sale. The plants go in, the watering begins, and within a few weeks the soil has hardened into something almost solid. Water pools on top instead of moving through. Roots suffocate, the plant declines. The secret is a mix built specifically for container drainage and airflow. A reliable indoor growing mix is roughly 60% high-quality potting mix, 20% perlite, and 20% compost. The potting mix provides structure. The perlite creates air pockets and ensures water moves through the container instead of sitting. The compost feeds the plants slowly and consistently. This isn't complicated to build. You can mix it in a large bucket before filling your containers. The difference in how water moves through this blend versus standard garden soil is something you'll see immediately. Water flows through evenly, drains out the bottom cleanly, and the soil surface stays loose rather than crusting over. Perlite is the ingredient most beginners skip. It's the small white granules you sometimes see in commercial potting mixes. Light, neutral, and excellent at creating the aeration roots need to breathe. Adding extra perlite to your indoor mix is one of the simplest upgrades you can make. One mistake to avoid: skipping the drainage layer at the bottom of the container. Some growers add a thin layer of perlite or small stones at the very bottom of the pot before filling with the growing mix. This keeps the drainage hole from getting clogged and ensures water always has somewhere to go. Once the soil mix is right, watering becomes much more intuitive. You stop guessing whether the plant is sitting in wet soil or dry soil. You push a finger 2 inches into the mix. If it's dry at that depth, it's time to water. If it's still moist, you wait. Simple, consistent, and kind to the plant. At some point in the indoor gardening journey, something becomes clear. Horizontal space is limited. Floor space is limited, but vertical space, the height of a wall, the depth of a shelf unit, the space above a table, is almost always underused. And this is where indoor growing quietly becomes something most people never imagined was possible. A simple wire shelving unit, 4 or 5 tiers high, placed near a window or under a grow light, can hold 12 to 20 containers. Each tier becomes its own growing zone. Bottom shelves for deep-rooted crops that need more soil. Middle tiers for lettuce and herbs. Top tier, closest to the light source, for seedlings just getting started. That one shelf can produce more food than many outdoor raised beds. What makes this work visually is how the whole unit fills in over time. Week 1, it looks sparse. Small pots, seedlings just emerging. Week 3, things start to take shape. By week 6, the shelves are lush, basil spilling over its container, lettuce growing in dense, layered heads, herbs thick and fragrant. If you've ever seen a photo of a thriving indoor garden shelf and thought it looked too ambitious, too complicated, too much to manage, it's simpler than it appears. The shelf holds the containers, the light runs on a timer, the watering becomes a rhythm. The growing happens almost on its own. At this point, indoor gardening stopped feeling like a backup option and started feeling better than outdoor gardening in some ways. No weather to worry about, no season to wait for, no pests from the soil, no frost threatening overnight. Just steady, calm, consistent growth inside a space you already have. One mistake to avoid: not accounting for weight. Wire shelving units are rated for specific loads per shelf. A 5-gallon container of wet soil is heavy. Calculate before you load a shelf fully and choose a unit rated for the weight you're planning to put on it. The first time you harvest from every tier of a fully planted indoor shelf, the feeling is quiet but real. The small space, the simple setup, producing food consistently, week after week, regardless of what's happening outside. You've got the light right, the containers are good, the soil drains well, the shelf is filling in. And then something goes wrong. A plant develops white powder on its leaves. Another one wilts even though the soil is moist. A seedling collapses at the base. These are airflow problems, and they catch indoor growers off guard because outdoors, airflow is automatic. There's always a breeze, always movement, always exchange. Indoors, without intervention, the air around your plants is still. Still air creates the conditions that plant diseases love. Humidity settles around leaves. Spores find footing. Stems don't develop the strength they build when they've had to push against movement. The secret is a small fan on low, placed nearby, running for several hours a day. It doesn't need to blow directly on the plants. Gentle circulation is enough. The air around the leaves stays moving. Humidity doesn't pool. Surfaces dry between waterings. Stems gradually strengthen as they respond to the slight resistance of moving air. This one addition, a small clip fan or a low-profile desk fan, prevents the majority of the fungal and mold problems that end otherwise healthy indoor gardens. Think about what a thriving indoor space with good airflow looks like. The leaves are dry and clean. The soil surface between waterings doesn't develop a white film or green moss. The stems are upright and firm. The whole growing area has a lightness to it, a freshness that still air never produces. One mistake to avoid: placing the fan so it blows soil dry too quickly. The goal is air circulation, not desiccation. Aim the fan slightly past the plants rather than directly at them, or use the oscillating setting so air moves through the space rather than concentrating on one spot. Once airflow is part of the indoor setup, it becomes something you don't have to think about much. The fan runs quietly, the plants benefit continuously, and the problems that plagued earlier setups simply stop appearing. This is the one that surprises people most. You don't need soil to grow food indoors. You don't even need containers in the traditional sense. Some of the fastest growing, most productive indoor crops grow in nothing more than a glass jar filled with water and a handful of nutrients. Hydroponic jar growing, sometimes called the Kratky method, is about as simple as it sounds. A jar, water, a small amount of liquid hydroponic nutrients, a net pot holding the plant in place at the top, a small seedling getting started. The plant's roots grow down into the water. As the water level drops from uptake, an air gap forms between the water surface and the bottom of the net pot. The roots that are submerged absorb water and nutrients. The roots in the air gap absorb oxygen. The plant gets everything it needs without soil, without pumps, and without much attention at all. Lettuce in a Kratky jar goes from seedling to harvest in 3 to 4 weeks. Herbs grow quickly and abundantly. Spinach, chard, and kale all perform beautifully in this system. Imagine a row of mason jars on a shelf under a grow light, each one holding a plant. Each plant at a different stage, one just sprouted, one halfway to harvest, one ready to cut. A continuous rolling harvest from a shelf that takes up 2 feet of space. That's not hypothetical. That's what a well-managed Kratky setup looks like, and it's genuinely one of the most productive uses of a small indoor space. One mistake to avoid: topping off the water too frequently. The air gap is important. Roots need that oxygen exposure. If you keep refilling the jar to the top, the roots stay fully submerged and begin to struggle. Let the water level drop naturally, and only refill when it gets low enough that the roots are at risk of drying out entirely. The first Kratky harvest, pulling a full head of lettuce from a jar that started as a tiny seedling 3 weeks ago, is the kind of moment that makes the whole indoor gardening concept click into place. There's a reason some indoor gardens succeed and others don't, and it isn't always about light or containers or airflow. Sometimes it's simply about choosing crops that are well suited to indoor growing in the first place. Beginners often want to start with whatever they love eating most: large tomatoes, zucchini, sweet corn, melons. These are outdoor crops that need full sun, warm temperatures, space to sprawl, and pollination help. Indoors they struggle, the experience feels defeating, and the conclusion becomes that indoor growing doesn't work. The secret is starting with crops that actually love indoor conditions. Lettuce and salad greens are the easiest starting point: fast, forgiving, and productive in low to moderate light. Most herbs, basil, parsley, cilantro, mint, thyme, chives, thrive indoors and produce continuously when harvested regularly. Green onions regrow from cuttings in a glass of water on any windowsill. Microgreens are ready in 7 to 14 days and require no special equipment at all. Once you have those dialed in, you move toward crops that need a little more but reward you significantly for the effort. Compact pepper varieties like lunchbox peppers or ajicarapita perform well indoors with a grow light. Dwarf tomato varieties bred specifically for container growing, like Tiny Tim, Tumbling Tom, or Red Robin, produce real fruit in real amounts from a 5-gallon pot. The progression feels natural. You start with greens, you gain confidence, you understand your light. You add a pepper plant. It flowers, it sets fruit, and at some point, you're harvesting peppers from a container on a shelf in your living room. And the idea that indoor gardening doesn't produce real food feels genuinely strange. One mistake to avoid, giving up after one failed crop. If an outdoor variety doesn't perform well indoors, it's not failure, it's information. Try a compact or dwarf variety of the same crop. The difference is almost always dramatic. Have you ever tried growing food indoors? What worked for you and what gave you trouble? Drop it in the comments. There's always something useful in what others have figured out. When these secrets work together, the indoor growing space begins to look and feel different from what most people imagine. The shelving unit is planted in full. The grow light hums quietly overhead on its timer. The small fan moves air through the space. The jars of lettuce are at different stages. Some just started, some nearly ready. The pepper plant in the corner is flowering. It's not complicated. It's not expensive. It doesn't require experience you don't have yet. It requires the right light, the right containers, a soil mix that drains, some vertical thinking, a little airflow, and crops that are suited to the environment you're working with. That's the whole system, and it produces real food year-round, regardless of what season it is outside. You don't need a backyard to grow real food. That's not a compromise or a consolation. It's simply true. A small indoor space set up with intention can produce more than most people expect, and it can do it every month of the year. There's something quietly satisfying about that, about walking to a shelf in your own home and harvesting what's there, about knowing that even without a yard, without a plot, without the right weather or the right season, you have a growing space that's entirely yours. That feeling, calm, grounded, capable, is what indoor gardening at its best actually gives you. So tell me in the comments, which of these secrets surprised you most, and what food would you most want to grow indoors? I read every comment, and I genuinely love to know where you're starting from. If you're new here and this kind of content speaks to you, calm, practical, honest growing advice, consider subscribing.